For decades, we've lived in a system that is considered a sick care system. So we're treating symptoms rather than the root cause of things. And things are changing, obviously, for the positive. So we're going to talk about that with Buck, the owner of Scale Regenerative Health. So welcome, Buck. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Megan. And thanks for the call out there.
Yeah, of course,
a favorite.
of course.
Wow, that's great. You're my favorite too.
So for people who did not see the first episode that we did with you, could you briefly explain what regenerative medicine is?
Okay, so regenerative medicine, if you think about it, I'll just give you an example. Let's say I've got a shoulder injury, right? And instead of going to get to the doctor and going for the knife, right? I'm doing something to get the body to fix itself, to heal itself, right? So there's a lot of ways that the body can actually heal itself. And so that's what we consider as regenerative medicine.
Okay.
Excuse me, getting the body to actually perform the task of fixing itself as opposed to using some kind of outside or exogenous force.
Okay.
To
I
fix
love
itself.
that. It's very in line with, I guess, holistic healthcare. As people say, you're treating, the root cause rather than the symptom, essentially, right? And you're using your own body's materials instead of outside substances.
Yeah, we like to address the root cause. So we're trying not to, in typical medicine, the way that medicine has been in the past, they're hiding symptoms, they're masking symptoms.
Like a Band-Aid.
Yes, it's a Band-Aid. And what we do is we try to address what the root cause is of the problem. And either addressing a problem or else trying to prevent the problem even better before it happens.
Love that. And so along those lines, so we have this sick care model that, we've been talking about. You treat the symptoms, throw a Band-Aid on, you don't even know what the root cause is. So why would you say this traditional model is not working anymore?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. And I think it gets back to where we are overall, like in our healthcare system, right? So if you look back like the 1950s and 60s, we were spending about 5% of GDP on healthcare. And that was about $1 out of every 20 out of somebody's pocket. Today, it's $1 out of 5. It's almost 20%.
Wow.
So, and we have an aging population, right? And what we've done in the past is we wait until those individuals, get to a point where they have to go in for surgery.
Yep.
Or they've got diabetes already. And the way to bring those healthcare prices down is by addressing it before it happens.
Okay.
And there's lots of ways you can do that.
It sounds also way more hopeful than, you just get to the worst point possible and then you try to fix it. If you could start early, it sounds a lot better.
For sure.
Yeah, exactly. What would you say we're missing when we treat the symptoms instead of the root cause?
We're missing the long-term, I think, outcome.
Yeah.
When you start treating the symptoms, it's a lot of times too late. You want to treat before the symptoms start to occur.
Yeah.
Or at the beginning of the symptoms starting to occur. Or even better, if you could live a lifestyle that would address, the aging process before the symptoms begin to occur, that would even be better.
Yeah. Very true. Why should we stop treating aging as a slow decline as opposed to just a natural biological function that's going to happen?
Well, I mean, if you think about the aging process, really, when we look at our practice, okay, we really take it down to the root cause. And the root cause is really mitochondria. And so we focus almost everything we do on mitochondria because mitochondria is responsible for a lot of the aging process, right? So if you can improve mitochondria, if you can slow down the mitochondria dysfunction and improve mitochondria function, you're going to slow down the aging process, right?
Okay.
And once you slow down the aging process and the mitochondria dysfunction, you actually can prevent a lot of disease.
Wow. Okay. So I think a lot of people don't know that. So could you explain what are some ways that you could repair mitochondria dysfunction or you would approach it?
Yeah. So let's actually bring it to, let's talk about one of the biggest spends, in healthcare, right? And that is diabetes and type 2 diabetes, right?
Wow,
So that is one of the largest spends in healthcare, right? And so when you think about that, that is caused because of mitochondrial dysfunction. So what happens is the body starts to get insulin resistance, right? And then insulin resistance leads to inflammation. Everybody talks about inflammation. They said, well, what is inflammation? Well, really what inflammation is, it's a symptom. It's a symptom of insulin resistance. And insulin resistance is caused by mitochondrial dysfunction. And just a little refresher on the mitochondria. The mitochondria are like the refinery for oil, right? So the mitochondria refine NAD, which is in all your cells. They refine NAD into ATP. And ATP is the energy. It's the fuel. It's the gas, for the mitochondria. So when you can repair the mitochondria and make it more efficient, you're repairing the refinery so it no longer leaks. And once you do that, then you have ATP, which is more available for everything from eyes to heart to liver function to kidney function. I mean, mitochondria is in your entire body. Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
So you can improve everything, basically.
Yeah. So what we say is a rising tide lifts all boats.
I like that. That's good. So for instance, if somebody does have type 2 diabetes, there's other ways to treat it than like traditional ways is what you're saying. Just as one example of.
Yeah. What we know today is like there's some of the peptides that are out there today are phenomenal. I mean, we're seeing the revolution in the weight loss space where a lot of people don't realize, what that's doing. But, that is addressing insulin resistance. Right. And so that when you're addressing insulin resistance, you're bringing down inflammation, in the entire body.
Wow.
So that's why they're finding out a lot of these GLP-1s have got so many more benefits than just weight loss.
And I don't think a lot of people know that. You just assume, you hear like, the weight loss drugs. I don't think people understand that they do other things.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't understand that they're also peptides.
I didn't know that myself, and I'm very into peptides, so that really surprised me. I don't think people understand that. So does that mean, could you explain then, are those naturally occurring then?
Yeah, of course, peptides are all naturally occurring. There's over 300,000 peptides in your body.
Wow.
Right? They're short chain amino acids and they're signaling agents. So they just signal the body to go fix itself, which is great. So this gets to the root cause or root of regenerative health, right? Is you're telling the body to go fix this, go fix that, by these agonists.
Okay.
So, which are the peptides.
So the GLP-1s, if you get to a point where you are diabetic or you're very overweight, they're kind of going and signaling your body to do what it's supposed to be doing. That's what, right?
Sure. And it'd be great to get, to address that before you get to that point.
Exactly, of course.
Of obesity or,
yes. Ideally. Yeah. Yeah. But worst case, those drugs obviously have this reason they're so popular right now. So we keep talking about this, we have a sick care system today. Obviously things are changing. You mentioned a few ways. So what are some more ways that you see, let's say fast forward 5-10 years from now, that we're going to see that obviously you're doing things already to implement this, but what would you say? Yeah.
All right. So let's just back up a little bit on that one also, because, we talked about what we used to spend versus what we spend today.
Yeah.
Right. So in its current state, the healthcare system is in decline in such a way that it's not sustainable.
It's a mess.
We have this aging population, right? We have Medicare. I think the recent numbers on that could run out by 2033.
Yeah,
that's just right.
Yeah,
that's very close.
Yeah.
So we have to change things.
It's crazy.
We're in a position, things have got to change. And also in the 1970s, insurance or out-of-pocket pay used to be 33%. Today it's 10%. So the insurance companies are paying most of it, and the expense is so astronomical. Have you ever heard of anybody at all say they're happy with their insurance?
Absolutely never. Literally not one person ever. And I haven't been either. So even if you get the best of the best, it's still.
I think it's close to somewhere in the high 90s. You might find one here or there, but I haven't heard one yet.
Oh, I haven't either.
So the insurance, the way that the whole system works, that this incredible burden on the insurance companies, which gets passed back to the individuals.
Yeah, of course.
Right. and then this aging population. And then we have, Medicare down the line where you've got, potentially, going to be bankrupt by 2033 unless Congress makes some changes. So it's a system that has got to change. And the best way to change it is by addressing the root cause of issues. And for example, there's two big, as we talked about earlier, diabetes is one, but there's also musculoskeletal is another. And once again, musculoskeletal, a lot of people don't realize that is caused by mitochondria dysfunction.
I would never have known that.
Yeah.
So, and by musculoskeletal, you mean hip, shoulder, like
Hip,
orthopedics,
or
right?
orthopedic, yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, how many people do you know that have had shoulder surgery?
Oh, shoulder, hip, knee. I feel like a million people. Back surgery, a lot.
It seems like almost everybody you talk to over 60 years old is like had shoulder, knee, hip.
Yep.
And so what happens there is there becomes mitochondrial dysfunction. You might get bone spurs or arthritis or arthritic hips or arthritic all these things. And those are all due to mitochondrial dysfunction.
Wow.
Right. So let's say if you had a system where, hey, my shoulder's a little sore, maybe I should fix that now.
Right, before you can't even move it.
Right, before I have to go to surgery.
Yeah, that's a big leap.
And that's a pretty easy thing to do. And that would save an awful lot of money in this current healthcare system.
And I don't think people even know there's ways to fix that besides surgery or, just ice. Like that's a very extreme gap. And you're saying there are.
Oh, there's definitely. We have a good example. We had a person come in about 5 weeks ago, had 5 shoulder surgeries.
5?
5. And he had the last 2 years ago at a very good center here in South Florida. And he came in and he could not raise his right hand, like past here. And his left was even worse, right?
Wow.
His left shoulder. We gave him a blend, a peptide blend, put him on this protocol. He comes back in a month later and he's like, I've got full range.
Wow.
He said over here, he had 70%.
Wow.
And so we see things like that all the time, but it would be awfully nice to get to these people. I mean, how many people do you have in here say, oh, I've got bone on bone, right? I mean, I don't know how many times I hear bone on bone.
Yeah.
Right? So,
which means you've just worn everything down to where it's
out.
Like super painful. Yeah.
Right. So if you could get to people before you have this bone on bone, when they still have something there to attach to and to grow back, peptides, stem cells, exosomes are extremely good at growing back tissue.
Yeah.
Right. And so you can get there while there's still some tissue to grow back. You can prevent that shoulder surgery, that knee surgery, that ankle surgery, that hip surgery.
Sounds like too good to be true, right? No, but it's amazing. And I think there's a gap between traditional medicine and doctors versus alternative therapies or what they'd consider. And I think, moving forward, there needs to be some sort of reckoning where like they're either going to work together or they're not. Because for instance, I'll go to my doctor and bring up peptides and they look at me like I'm totally crazy. So I think it's interesting because I guess, and this is a question for you, but moving into the future, do you see them working together or do you see this almost being like a split?
Well, I don't think there's any one, if there are doctors that are very willing.
So not every, of course, not all of them.
So I think it's, but then there's other, it's almost like your political ideology.
It's so
days.
True. They're either very against it or open-minded, I've noticed.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we have, for example, we've got one doctor that's coming in to start working with us. We're putting in a product. It's called a Gait machine.
Okay.
And this doctor has got centers all over the world. But this Gait machine, you can get on this Gait machine, and it will tell you whether you're going to have future knee problems or hip problems.
Wow.
It also tells you whether you're going to have neurological issues.
Really?
Right. Yeah.
Like, and by neurological, you mean like brain tumors, MS, ALS,
like dementia.
Or really? Okay.
Yes, Alzheimer's.
Wow.
Yeah. So it can give you an early indication of where you are.
That's insane.
By just measuring the gait, which is kind of wild, right?
I mean, terrifying, but yeah.
Early
But then
Parkinson's.
it's not terrifying because then you can do stuff to prevent, them either, advancing at all or getting really bad, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you do see them kind of working. Like, do you see these, technologies and these therapies that you're using? Do you see it becoming more popular? And amongst even do you see more traditional doctors being more open-minded with this stuff in the next 5-10 years?
They're going to have, I don't think they're going to have a choice.
They have to, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of things moving very, very fast in this space, and it's moving very fast in our entire, social network. I mean, it's like, which is AI and AI and robotics, and if you look at robotics and surgery today, it's like just going to get more and more.
Yeah.
And if you look at the AI models and for research and for, determining protocols, I mean, it's going to be it's going to be woven into the entire fabric of healthcare.
Yeah. So they'll have to catch on.
And it's coming very fast.
Oh, I feel like every day
Yeah.
there's a new AI advancement. Like it's really hard to keep up. So, I mean, it's exciting for medicine. I'll say that.
It's very exciting for
Yeah.
medicine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, wait, I want to ask you, pause for a sec. So we kind of touched on the musculoskeletal. Do you want to bring up more about that?
On musculoskeletal?
Yeah. Or how do you feel, what do you want to go?
Yeah, I mean, maybe we could go back into the Gait, the Gait analysis machine a little bit.
Yeah. Can I ask you to explain more about it, basically?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the Gait machine, right?
Yes.
Is that GATE?
Yeah, so
like a gait.
It measures your gait, it measures the way you walk. It's like
like that gait.
Yes.
Oh, that.
Yes.
Okay, I understand.
So it has cameras. It's very sophisticated. It goes in these AI models, and they look at the way you walk, the way you're,
Oh wow.
So it's literally your gait, and through that gait, they can tell whether you're going to have future knee issues,
Okay.
or future hip issues, right?
Wow.
They can also tell whether you, as I said, dementia, like neurological issues. And then there's to correct that, it actually we send the data back off to over to Europe, and these custom insoles are made. And so once you put the custom insoles, and then it helps you so you're not wearing that knee out.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So then, along the same lines, if you were to get, God forbid, results back, and it says you're gonna have dementia, you're gonna have Alzheimer's, or
Right.
what are some things that you can do to treat those without, jumping to just, pharmaceuticals?
Right. So there's a lot of peptides actually that work
Wow.
neurologically.
Okay.
They're known to help stimulate brain,
Okay.
and known to slow down the progression
Wow.
of some of these things. So yeah, then the mitochondria peptides. Once again, the mitochondria peptide protocols are very good at slowing that down.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is there a certain protocol, for instance, that's a good one to start with peptides, or is it more when you have to address the individual?
Yeah, we of course we use a lot of GLP-1s,
Okay.
right, for inflammation.
Yeah.
But we start pairing that. We're pairing that now with the mitochondria protocols, because just using the GLP-1s to lose weight, that doesn't, they're great. They bring down the inflammation, but they're not going to repair the mitochondria.
Okay.
Right. So repairing the base of the mitochondria is really important. It makes the GLP-1s that much more efficient.
Wow.
It makes it, when you've lost weight and gotten down to healthy weight, keeping that weight off.
Which I think which is great, because I think the one complaint I've heard from GLP-1s is just that people gain the weight back quickly. So I think that's
We don't see that really.
no. Well, maybe you don't. I've just heard.
No,
I've heard some people.
I know when people stop cold, but we there's a lot of different things that we're not just giving them GLP-1s.
So you're saying it's obviously more effective to add these other peptides with it.
Yeah, and not just other peptides, but there's a whole if you think about it, for instance, visceral fat is a big issue, right?
Yeah.
So we have things that will help take down visceral fat.
Wow.
Right,
Okay.
because visceral fat can turn into cancer, can turn into all kinds of things. Sleep is huge, right? So promoting sleep, healthy sleep habits, promoting healthy diet is really important. Exercise is really important. Gut health is really important. So there's a whole stack of protocols that we like to bring in to make people healthy and keep them healthy, not just using the GLP-1s, but providing a more whole approach.
It's a holistic approach.
Yeah.
You're addressing the whole thing. Yeah.
Right.
Because I know a lot of places will just throw you a GLP-1 and then it's like, okay, you're good. So it sounds
Yeah.
like you really pay attention more to not just that, but the whole thing.
No, they will. It's funny. The other day we had I had a client in, and this client, we couldn't figure it out, but he had a horrible reaction to tirzepatide. He was fine on semaglutide,
Interesting.
but he had a horrible reaction to tirzepatide.
One of my friends did too. She ended up in the ER actually.
Oh, this individual did too.
Really?
So I asked him. I said, "Well, can you show me what the doctor gave you?"
Yep, exactly.
Right. And so the doctor gave him for the first shot, gave him 15 milligrams,
Yep,
which was the max dose.
What my friend did.
Now, if you think about that, what happens is even if they've been taking semaglutide, they haven't been taking GIP. So just like getting stung by 1,000 bees, once you get stung by 1,000 bees, the body's going to reject, and you're going to be allergic to bees for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Right. So if you had a massive dose of GIP because somebody gave you the max dose to start with, the body's going to say, from now on, I'm allergic to GIP.
Yeah.
You just induced a GIP allergic reaction to that individual.
Wow.
So this individual came in, we gave him a very small dose, teeny dose of tirzepatide. Boom.
Totally fine.
Same reaction.
Oh, he did have it.
Yes.
Oh.
Same reaction. We had to move him to something else that did not have GIP in it.
Okay. So that was the issue.
Yeah.
And then it was okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you see, is that more rare? Because I've only heard, for instance, the one person.
It's fairly rare.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, it was a unfortunate
happen.
mistake
Right.
that
Right.
somebody should have been on top of that. Somebody should have known. We're not going to give a max dose to an individual to start off with.
Yeah, no, that's the same thing that happened with my friend. And it's just like a crazy amount. And you're shocked that somebody even, like, I feel like the person administering it doesn't even know what they're doing, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Exactly. So you want to go to Scale Regenerative Health for those. Okay. So what would you recommend if somebody's like, you know what? I'm feeling like a little off. Maybe I have some shoulder pain, some back pain. I just, my weight, I want to get my weight under control. I'm throwing out random things. But what would you say are the first steps that somebody should take if they really want to get on top of it and start, holistically treating themselves with you?
Well, the first thing we look at is, what is their weight?
Okay.
And do they have inflammation? And
is that before anything? Like even if they come in for something else?
Because if they are in a position that they need to lose a little weight, we can use the GLP-1s.
Okay.
And that brings down the inflammation, and it has a lot of other benefits, right? It benefits the heart, benefits the liver.
Yeah.
There's a lot of benefits to that. There's also gut health there. So they're looking at some of the Parkinson's protocols now, like are using semaglutide,
Interesting.
for gut health. So Parkinson's, they're tying that back to gut health, right?
Well, the brain and the gut are super connected.
Right.
Yeah.
So if they can lose a little weight and aren't, and then we can use those, to help.
Wow.
So, so that's a good thing. So,
Okay.
So when we can use that, and then what we like to do is once again is we really address the next step is the mitochondria
Okay.
with hands down, and what we use there is a combination of NAD with some other peptides.
NAD.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we have our doctor has a patent on nano NAD, right? So that is very effective. But what that does is once you fix the mitochondria, the NAD is much more effective and much more efficient. And when you combine these things together, they're exponentially better.
Okay.
Right? We've seen that there were some heart studies came out in 2020. I think I covered this earlier, that showed that combining NAD with this one particular peptide was incredibly good for improving heart function.
Wow.
Right?
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. There's some other peptides out now that are very good at improving liver function, fatty liver, for instance. So,
Yeah, that's a big thing that people have. Yeah.
Huge. So
Yeah.
you think about cholesterol.
Yep.
Right? And how many people are on statins that you hear?
And statins are terrible. Yeah.
It's like statins are, it's controversial,
Yeah.
but it seems like statins are the standard of care.
For sure. I know a million people are on statins.
Right.
Yeah.
Standard of care, blood pressure medications, statins, you're over 40, you're over 50, you gotta take them, So statins, there are peptides out there that will improve liver function. They resolve fatty liver. And once you resolve fatty liver, your cholesterol panels, your lipids start to improve because the liver can now clear the cholesterol.
Wow.
Right. So that's once again, that's addressing the root cause, getting the liver to function properly so that it can clear the cholesterol as opposed to having to take a statin.
This is amazing information. I feel like so many people don't know it. What would you say is a good way? I mean, I feel like as time goes on, it'll catch on more, but like, what's the best way to get the word out? I mean, this is one, we're doing it now, but like to educate people about, do you do a lot of that when people come in where you just are explaining because they're so unfamiliar with this?
Yeah, we do a lot. I mean, when they come in, we, as far as educating, I mean, we don't really advertise much. We've been told by our FDA attorneys not to advertise.
Well, because I know with anything with the drugs, you're gonna, yeah.
So we don't really advertise because we don't want to be making claims or medical claims or doing anything we shouldn't be doing with the FTC. So, but when people come in, and we grow by word of mouth primarily, it's great to be able to do these podcasts, to be able to get these things out, to help people because that's what we're there to do.
For sure. Yeah.
Right. But once they come in, we'll discuss with them. We'll set up a plan. We'll talk to them about what they're trying to achieve, what they've got. Do they have specific issues? They might come in with shoulder problems. They might come in with hormone issues, sleep issues, weight issues. Yeah.
You treat them all.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a number of diseases they might come in and because we do use a lot of these, and we've been training on these large language models for quite a while.
Okay, like a Chat GPT, for instance, is one, right?
We started with
AI
Chat
model.
GPT, and then we moved to Grok, and we started training that.
Okay.
And then we moved to Gemini, and now we kind of go between Gemini and Chat and some of the others.
Okay.
But not as much Chat, but as Gemini and Grok.
Which is amazing that you're using that it's the future of medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we look at blood panels. We'll take blood panels and throw it in and get some of the results there. And then we give it to the nurse practitioner who kind of checks over that to make sure it's accurate.
So it's all very customized and personalized.
Very.
Yeah.
Very.
Which is
every
very
individual's different.
Well, it's true because you go to a doctor and they'll just, it's like a blanket. Here's a statin, for instance, and they'll just give that to you no matter what. It's just, that's the thing. So
Absolutely.
This is so different in that it's really, really custom and personalized.
Yeah, everything we do is very customized.
It's amazing.
Very customized. It just happens to be there's a lot of systemic treatment that we can do, like the mitochondria treatments that we do, which covers a lot of bases.
Okay, and that can apply to a lot of people.
It applies to the vast majority of people.
Wow.
Almost everybody, really.
Mitochondria dysfunction.
Yeah.
Wow. Obviously, except for me. But kidding, I probably have it badly. Okay, so what would you say is one daily habit that people could implement that really complements regenerative medicine?
I think stress is huge. Like cortisol levels, working to bring your cortisol levels, working to eliminate stress. And this goes with the whole sleep, stress, but I didn't address stress, right? Stress is a big driver, of mitochondria dysfunction.
Okay.
So, lowering your cortisol levels, maybe waking up in the morning and going to green space or, getting that bit of time before you jump on the computer.
Yeah. Take a minute.
Yeah. Take a minute.
Okay.
So, and if you find yourself, I don't know if you've noticed, but sometimes you'll hear something or you'll be doing something or you'll be covering a topic and it just kind of makes what they used to say, make your hair stand on.
Yeah, you're stressed out. Yeah.
Right. And so when you do that, figuring out ways to kind of lower that temperature to lower the cholesterol or the cortisol levels, because cortisol triggers cancer, for instance.
For sure.
Right. It's a stressor.
Yep.
And when it's constantly triggered, a lot of disease can happen because of that.
Wow. Right? Yeah. So now it's like people are into the cold plunge or meditation, breathing. Like I feel like ways like that, right? Would you say is going to help? Yeah. Whatever works for you. I feel like that's a very personal.
Yeah. Exercise.
Yeah.
Lowering your stress levels, sleep, as we discussed.
Yeah.
Gut health starts with food. What foods?
Healthy. Yeah.
There's also, we pair a lot of the a lot of our protocols with different supplements and whatnot to make them. We're not huge on supplements, but there are certain supplements that you should definitely consider.
They'll help. Okay.
Yeah.
Those are all good pointers.
Yeah.
If you can, what does a regenerative lifestyle feel like?
Well, I think it provides freedom. How about freedom?
Oh, that's great. I love that. That's
Yeah.
really great. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because you're free to live longer,
And
do more activities.
Happiness.
Happiness. Love that.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a great answer. Okay. So to wrap up, what is the most, I guess, sci-fi advancement in medicine today that you've seen that you think is just going to be like, it's crazy for you, and also maybe one that you'll see down the road 5-10 years from now that's just going to like, people are going to think is totally insane.
Well, we're gonna tie in for that one. We're gonna tie in the combination of AI and robotics.
Okay.
So if you think about like in the operating today, like robotics are becoming huge. Like
So robots literally
Right.
replacing like doctors.
yeah. So for operating, so that you've got this, you see those in the operating room already, big time.
So
But
crazy.
there could be a day, 10 years from now, where you might come visit our office,
And you have
and there might be a robot meeting you at the door,
so crazy.
doing a scan,
Yeah.
or literally scanning the body and saying, okay, we've got this issue or this issue or this issue, and the robot's doing the work for us.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. And I don't think we're that far away from that.
No, I mean, Elon Musk has been working on them. He says they'll be ready. What did they said originally 2026, and now I think it's 2027, like the in-home ones they're saying.
Sure.
I need one for laundry. But it's really crazy to think about that. Like that's definitely going to be a normal thing.
Yeah. Yeah. We can't wait to get a robot into our practice.
It'll be really cool.
Yeah.
So go visit. Hopefully you'll see a robot soon.
Right.
So Buck, this was really great. I always love talking to you and learning about all of this because it's fascinating and it's obviously the future of medicine. Is there anything that you would like to leave us with? And then after that, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Well, we've got the website, scaleregenerativehealth.com.
ScaleRegenerativeHealth.com.
Yep, you can go there.
My Living Media
Coastal
magazine,
Pearl
or
has
Coastal
got
Pearl.
a number there. You can contact us. Texting is great.
Okay.
If you just text us, we'll get back to you.
Okay.
Or you can just knock on the door.
Show up.
Hope so.
Yeah. At a normal hour.
Yep. So,
Okay, great.
So all of those are good.
Thank you so much. This is a pleasure as always. We look forward to speaking to you again.
Yeah, and thank you, Megan.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, all right.
Have a good one. We will be back with more. Be sure to subscribe if you have not already. Like our video. Share it with your friends, family, cats, dogs, babies. See you later. Share it with your baby? Okay.